between my mask, my hearing aids, my glasses. I'm delighted to be here today. A few years ago over lunch, I said to Marcia, since I talk so much about gratitude, on my 90th birthday, I should tell my story. She agreed, and here I am. This is the day. My mother and father had a quick marriage and a quicker divorce. I was the reason. At the age of 1, I was awarded to my mother. But my mother was mentally challenged, and she could not care for me. So we came to Oregon City to live with my grandparents and 4 uncles. 1932 found the nation in a deep depression. They were poor before the depression, but circumstances made it much worse. We moved 5 times by the time I was in 7th grade, and that was because of rents going up. The big old houses we had were room for us, but they did not offer much more. But one of the moves put us in a better neighborhood. And as a 4-year-old, I was able to play with the kids and go into other people's houses. One day I came home asking questions to my grandmother. Why do I have to go to the toilet outside? Why is it always so cold? It's not at Annie's place. And why do I have to wear old clothes that come in a box twice a year? On and on complaining. Now my grandmother would have none of my complaining. She sat me down and quietly said, Dodie, you have everything you need. You have a roof over your head, a bed to sleep in, clothes to wear, and something to eat. You start right now counting your blessings. And then she reminded me of other things for which I should be grateful, including eyes to see the flowers, ears to hear the music, and hands to pet the barn cat. Then she said, look at the men who sleep in our barn. That got my attention. At that time, the train station was close to where the elevator is today, and the train made a daily stop, and sometimes one of my uncles would be in town at that time, and he would see someone climb down from the boxcar looking like he needed a good meal and a place to sleep. So he would come home with my uncle and eat with us. And at that time, Oregon City had abundant fruit trees, and Grandma had a huge garden, and one thing, I was never hungry. At night, the man would sleep in the barn with our cow. Some stayed a night, others stayed a few days. After being reminded about the men in the barn who were so grateful for a meal and a place to stay, I was more willing to list my blessings in my life. To make sure I would not forget, Grandma, who was a devout Christian, taught me the song, Count Your Blessings. I was to sing it when I began to complain about my life. And soon I found that complaining did no good. And that started my practice of gratitude. My 10th year was filled with new experiences. Change came when America entered the war. 3 of my uncles joined the army. My older uncle did not go because he was married and had a berry farm. With no child labor laws, it was expected that I would pick berries. At that time, we lived close to where Grocery Outlet is today, and from there I walked to Chapin Park, which was at the time my uncle's berry patch. At the end of the season, I came home with, so much money. I was so proud of myself, and at that time, my Uncle Bob was home on leave from the service, and I poured my money out and said, look what I got. And he told me, he said, Dodie, let me talk to you about money, as it is a lesson I want you to learn. He said, there are many things you can do with this money, and you need to know a couple of them. With more money than you have ever had, you might want to take it all and buy all the things you have wanted. But if you learn to spend money wisely, you will have learned a valuable lesson. There is want and need. Buy what you need, such as taking a ration coupon and buy a pair of shoes for school, because look at your shoes. Also, you will probably need a few clothing items. Always buy what you need wisely and be grateful for what you have by taking care of everything you own. Replacing things through neglect costs money, but what will get you in trouble are your wants. Make sure when you spend money for a want that you will really be happy with it later on. For when your money is spent on wants, there won't be any money left over in case you have needs in February or March at school. Remember, there will be no money to replace what you have until next summer. Always remember, it is better to have and not want than want and not have. That same year, I had a horrible toothache. And most of the dentists in Oregon City were called into service, but there was Dr. Borden. And I went to see him, and at that time, he was a dentist and also the minister at this church. And it was common, I liked him so much, and it was common in those days for children to go to church services because Sunday school was before church. And I started coming here, so that would be 80 years ago. Anyway, and he was just a wonderful man. Then in 1951, in this church, I married Jim. From the beginning, our wants were exactly the same. Graduate from college and travel the world. It started with us moving to Eugene, and I worked at the Congregational Church there, and he graduated from Oregon. Then his work took us to Tennessee. And when my kids were old enough, I was able to start back at the University of Tennessee on my degree, but had to transfer back here to Portland State where I graduated. And because I was a teacher, we were able to travel in the summertime. And I'm so grateful that our wants were goals worth pursuing because I love teaching up here at Eastham, and I also love traveling the world. Now, what benefits one from living a life where the practice of gratitude is the most important consideration? One benefit comes from the body's immune system. From the little I have learned through great courses, I believe the immune system tries to keep us balanced and healthy. When negative emotions come into play, and you all know them, anger, greed, why me, pity me, on and on and on, we get upset. And you also know that you experience that upsetness, headaches, stomach aches, all the things that happen when you get upset. And when you get mad at something or someone in this world, because one looks at the world differently by the daily practice of gratitude, those negative emotions are greatly reduced, and the body experiences more calm, and this has a big effect on our health. I had an experience a couple years ago which illustrates what I mean. In the middle of the night, my cat did something. I still can't remember what it was. And half asleep, I got up, was trying to find him. I fell and severely broke my wrist. Boy, was I mad. Immediately, I got very mad at myself. And the madder I got, the more my wrist hurt. My daughter took me to the hospital, and I was furious by the time I got there. I was to be given an award by Kelly the next day, and I couldn't even get that. That made me mad. And then finally, the nurse could see that this was not a very good experience for me. And she came and put a really warm blanket over me. And at that moment, my brain said, come on, let's kick in gratitude, which I did. And I sat there and I thought, why are you doing this to yourself? You're in the hospital, that nice doctor's gonna set your wrist, you've got money to pay for it, and the only thing you won't be able to do is cry and line dance. And then I thought, I don't care about driving. Ron will bring me to church, and I know Dale will pick me up for daytimers, which they did. And then I thought, I've always wanted to use the other part of my brain. So I could learn to eat, which was probably very important with my left hand. And I learned to write, to be able to sign my checks. And most importantly, I learned to knit with my left hand. I spent a few minutes reflecting on all the things for which I should be grateful. A little later, the nurse came by and asked me if I wanted a pain pill, and I moved my wrist. And I thought, it doesn't hurt so much. I don't think so. And I just knew at the moment, once I calmed my brain down, that put gratitude in its place, the pain ceased, and it was very much better for me. Now I want to share with you some of the things about gratitude that I've learned through these years, all my 90 years. The first gratitude I want to talk about is the Maid Gratitude. This originates with you, meaning when someone does something for you, or it could involve someone in your life. This gratitude surfaces when people are helping you by making your life better. Even when you are paying for their services, by telling them how much they did for you, that it is appreciated for both, and that makes both of you have a connection. In our society, so many people are responsible for our good life, and rarely do they get a thank you. But when you take the moment to connect with other people and tell them how much you appreciate it, it helps both the giver and the receiver. The other day I was wondering about this, how our magazines and TV are constantly telling us to start liking ourselves more, and we're so important, on and on and on. I wonder if we concerned ourselves less with the big me and began to look at the world through gratitude, maybe our place in the world would be enhanced. Lisa Fields, in her article, The Goodness of Gratitude, says, research confirms that performing acts of kindness and sharing thankful thoughts have many positive effects on mood and health. People who express gratitude lower their blood pressure, get better quality sleep, and improve their relationships, decrease their depression levels, and are less affected by pain. She goes on to say that gratitude is contagious. Those who are helped are more likely to pay a kindness forward. One study found that when someone is thanked, it more than doubles his or her chances of being helpful again, likely because he or she enjoys feeling socially valued, end of quote. So when you experience all that is your life, you are really helping yourself to greater happiness and actually end up taking better care of the big me. Another part of gratitude I want to mention is the odd gratitude. This is my favorite. That is the great joy one feels when experiencing something outside of themselves which they had no part in creating. In the morning when you look out the window and watch the sunrise, they've been so beautiful lately. At night, marveling at the full moon, which looks like a diamond against a night sky, walking on the beach and watching the waves come in. This gratitude habit can happen any moment during the day. Just going to your car, stopping for a moment and being mindful, looking at the flowers or the birds that are flying by. It takes so little time and energy to stop for a second. Look around at all the wonder that the universe provides for us. When one experiences an awe moment, a special feeling comes with connecting to the universe. This last practice I'm going to talk about will be very hard for some of you, and I appreciate that. But just in case it helps one of you, I'm going to address it. At my age, I have seen so much death, including the family who raised me, most of my high school friends, and many friends in this church. After days of grieving, which I think is most important, I begin to think, if I miss this person or animal this much, they must have been very important in my life. And gradually, as the days pass, I switch from great sorrow to gratitude. Because in my life, I know these people or animals help me have a more joyous existence here on earth. The greater the grief, the more I experience gratitude that their life intertwined with mine. As gratitude increases, sorrow decreases. This practice of gratitude is the greatest gift I ever received, and I thank my grandmother for taking the time to teach me such a valuable lesson. I was having a discussion with my daughter Vicki about love and gratitude. She's really good with words, and she said, "Mom, gratitude is love in action," and I could not agree more. As Ben Stein said, "I cannot tell you anything that in a few minutes will tell you how to be rich, but I can tell you how to feel rich, which is far better, let me tell you firsthand, than being rich." Be grateful. It's the only reliable get-rich scheme. Ellen Katie says, gratitude helps you to grow and expand. Gratitude brings joy and laughter into your life and the lives of all those around you. And finally, it's not happiness that brings gratitude. It's gratitude that brings happiness. Thank you for listening to my story. If I could give each of you a gift, it would be the practice of gratitude. I am sure for some it is a daily part of your life. And I think those of you who practice it daily will agree with me as to how it changes one's life. To the rest of you, I hope it will become something which you will find worthwhile to practice every day until it becomes a habit, always by being grateful for all that's in your life. To help you remember at the end of the service, I have gratitude towels to pass out for everyone. Thank you.